Well, joining me now is event organiser Corrina Antrobus and Sophie Kaufman, who's leading that talk. Now, can we just begin by explaining very simply what the Bechdel test is and the rules that have to be applied to films?
It's very, very simple. All it needs to do in order to pass the test is to have two named women that have a conversation with each other about something other than a man. That's it.
It seems very simple. So how, in this day and age, 2015, are there still films, quite a lot of films, that don't pass this test?
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of why we set up the whole thing in the first place, because it's just so alarming and just doesn't make a lot of sense at all. I think one of the problems is that the film industry is very male-dominated, and you do have a very alarming amount of women that direct films, and that is the direct cause of it.
So is it up to us, the cinema-going public, to change things, or is it about trying to get more women filmmakers out there?
It's definitely both, but, well, in fact, no, because what we've got is you've actually got more females going to the cinema than you have men. Like, only by a margin, by 52% of the cinema audience population are female. So, yeah, actually, we are voting. We do want to see, we are actually going to the cinema, and we do want to see films that pass the test.
So, Sophie, I'll bring you in. Are we just too complacent? Are we just happy to accept what the industry puts out there and not say anything about it?
There's a degree of that, and there's also a degree of just resignation and hopelessness. I mean, I think if cinema goers felt they actually did have the power to vote with their feet or their money to see better representation, not just of women, but just across the board, then they probably would. But the film industry can seem very entrenched, and part of why I think what Corrina's doing is so brilliant is it's showing that, no, you know, that there are great films out there that represent people, and they can be put on and fill out cinemas.
So when you started this event, did you have any trouble finding a selection of films to put on? Was it very easy?
It was very easy. I mean, myself and Sophie, we both are film critics as well, so we do watch a lot of films. So this is why it was so bewildering to us. We were just like, hang on a minute, there are so many films out there that pass the test with flying colours. And we're not talking about films that just barely scrape. I mean, just having a conversation about what to have for dinner would pass the test. So this is why it's not a measure of a good film or a feminist film. But the point is there are loads of wonderful films that have positive, dynamic, strong, interesting characters with complex narratives, and those are the ones that we want to hail. Unfortunately, there are so many that slip through the cracks, and with the festival, which is on all year throughout London, we want to celebrate those films.
So if somebody has heard about this and thinks, oh, I'd quite like to get involved in the festival, what sorts of places are you showing these films? Because is it literally London-wide? At
the moment, it's London-wide. We started off very small, and what I thought would just be a bit of a film club every now and then has now just exploded into this really great festival that people really want to get involved in, and I'm having contacts pretty much every day from people that want to.
Warm fireplace, but this story is quite different. In the crazy world of war, divorce, politics, sex, business, education, money, secrets, marriage, power, motherhood.
Well, that was Rocks in My Pockets, a little extract from it. And this really touches on some really key themes, doesn't it, Sophie? Because you're leading a panel discussion, which I guess is tied in with this film.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, if we talk about females being poorly represented in cinema, mental health is terribly represented in cinema. If you get a mentally ill person, they're mentally ill to enable an act of violence that happens at some point. So mental illness in cinema is generally just an excuse to have people do dramatic bad things. And this film is just such a wonderful, wonderful breath of fresh air, because it allows you to experience what it feels like to be mentally ill through animation. And animation is a wonderful format for doing that, because you can be very symbolic with the imagery that you use. There's like a wonderful scene in which a woman is just trapped inside a bell jar. Obviously, like, when you are feeling at odds with your environment, you don't feel, that you can touch things outside of your own mind. And yeah, so on a narrative level, what it is the filmmaker Signe Baumann looking back into her family history as a means to try and understand herself. And when I say her family history, there's specifically 4 case studies, 4 women who suffered with mental illness, and they suffered with mental illness in Soviet Latvia and this was quite a patriarchal society. So anyway, to cut a long story short, it's very detailed, very historic, but also very emotional and very symbolic.
And we love the fact that it's an animation as well, because it stems from the roots of animation. Alison Bechdel is the person that actually created the Bechdel Test 30 years ago, which is why we celebrated the 30th anniversary. And it was great that Sophie came along with this film and said, I'd like to programme this, and I just thought it'd just be a lovely fit to Alison Bechdel's animation roots. So yeah, we're really pleased to have it.
Well, if you'd like to see more of this film and more of the Bechdel Test Fest, it's on this Sunday at the ICA. That's where you're showing it, and I guess it's happening throughout the year, so look out for it.
That's right. We've got a feminist film quiz happening at the Genesis, and we're showing Watermelon Woman also at the Deptford Cinema, and then we've got lots of other exciting things at the Prince Charles, Pitch House Cinemas, so yeah, just get involved.
Brilliant. Sophie and Corrina, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
Well, we're going to take a quick break now, but still to come.
There is a land far away.